Hi, Sepideh. So
Hi.
nice to meet you. Thank you so
Hi.
much for joining Five Questions with Kino Lorber. We're here to talk about your film, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk, which is one of the most unforgettable and beautifully moving films that I've seen in as long as I can remember. So my first question to you is, I think everybody who watches this film will come away thinking the same thing. I will never forget Fatma Hossana.
Mm.
How do you like to remember her, and has your memory of her changed over time?
It is a strange thing indeed because our meeting and that whole year and all that what we lived together happened online. In fact, I never met her physically in person. Yet her memory is so vivid and unforgettable, as you said to me, of course, as well. And I guess, yes, there is a process of distantiation which kind of happens as with time, which is inevitable, I would say. But there is another layer of her being and her words and her message and heritage and all that what we shared, which is still the same. I am now in Dubai presenting the film here, and so I watched it again, and every time I watch it, it's the same. You know, she's there, she's alive, she's there. So that part will never change, I think.
And how have audiences responded? Have you seen, some any remarkable responses to the film and also to her as well as a person, and how's the world been responding?
I think this is also something quite astonishing and outstanding in this with this film, and that is, no matter where I go with the film, the response is always very emotional. Of course, questions are sometimes, different. There's a range of questions that change with according to the audience and the country, and there's always that common body of the audience of people reacting so emotionally to her way of first of all being there so strongly and her being so adamant to do what she was doing, and then to her kind of fading at times or being less present because of all the hardship that she was getting through. This process of um, having a person changing so drastically and yet not in the a time lapse of a year is quite unique, I would say. And it's due to the circumstances of the shooting and of the genocide she was witnessing, and which at the end killed her, because um, you know, it's also that we should remember how she died in a targeted attack by the Israeli army that took her and all her family, save her mother. And so she lost her life basically, really, in what she was trying to document. And and this is the amazing thing, that people really meet her and then lose her 2 hours later, and they're always very emotional there.
Well, so you set out to make a documentary about the experience of people living in Gaza after October 7th. When did you know that you wanted your story to be told from just one point of view, that of Fatma's, and did that change the process of making it anyway?
Well, my initial idea, of course, was to get there physically, go there myself. And that's how I went to Cairo, or why I went to Cairo, thinking and trying to cross Rafah. It wasn't closed fully in my, I mean, as much as I knew. Um, that was April 2024. And so I was hoping to, and I thought it was clever enough or somehow to to be sneaking inside to get there physically, and I thought it was still possible. It turned out to be totally impossible, and I didn't give up. I thought, okay, I will film the Palestinian refugees who've arrived in Egypt. That for a lapse of time, of a short period of time, by paying $8,000 to $10,000 per head Palestinians from Gaza were allowed to pass through Rafah crossing and enter Egypt. I don't know who took that money, where it went, how it was split between the Israelis and the Egyptians. But I think some 130 or 150,000 Palestinians were able to leave that way. So when I was stuck in Cairo, I thought, okay, I will make the film this way. And I was still unsatisfied because I wanted the experience from within Gaza. So one of the young men, a student whom I was following and filming, introduced me to Fatima. And from the moment, and that was towards the end of my journey, from the moment I met her, it was immediately clear that she was someone special. On that first video call, you see it, you see what happens in the film, and it's in the film. It's immediate. I was prepared to shoot, but I didn't know what I was going to, whom I was going to meet. I just had been told that she was someone special, and I felt it immediately. And I think she related to me also. That is the other thing which is quite unique, or unique, is that the something clicked between the two of us, and it was both ways immediately. It wasn't just I who was, fascinated by her energy and all. She opened up to me in an unexpected way and very quickly. And I think from the second phone call or video call, let's say, a few days later when I was back to Paris, it was clear that we had a bonding and that we were going to continue. Um, there were no questions about that, of how many times, how long, this, that. Anytime it was possible to connect, we connected. And so this went on for a year almost. And I think a week after the first meeting, the first video call, I started editing the film. And I knew by then that this would be the film. The main
Okay.
course, the main body of the film would be
It's
that.
very clear from the film that it's much more the interview subject, that clearly you're friends. This
Yes,
friendship is very palpable.
yes,
So Fatma is also an incredibly talented photographer.
yes.
What did you feel when you first saw her photos, and did her photography shape the film in any way?
Well, it gave me images, from the outside, from the destruction in Gaza, that I did not have, because my um, one of the choices that I made was to focus on her face. Her face became a territory for me, to explore the war, and I left the war outside, so we would hear it in the soundscape. But I didn't want her to um, go out, save for the couple of times that I asked her to take the camera or the phone to the window where she was at that point and to show me what she was seeing. But I really wanted to be as close as possible to her point of view, to her feelings. So the rest, I mean, her photography compensates a lot for that massive destruction that we hear and that we imagine, and that she would document through her photography. And this was, it brings an immense lot of content, or depth to the film, of course, because it's the combination of what she's talking about and her photography that are very strong. It's true that she was very talented, I believe, also a photographer and also a talented poet. She also used to write. We have one of her poems in the film, and I think it gives a perspective to the film.
Yeah, she had an incredible eye to
Mm.
just capture images that told such a deep story of what was going on, but she found life and joy and, even like whimsy in all the destruction. It was very, very moving.
Yes.
Um, my next question is, so you touched on this a little bit earlier about kind of moments where she faded a little bit. I think that the image most people will remember this film by is her smile, because
Yes.
even in the darkest hours, her
Mhm.
light was just so bright. But there is one scene in the film that really stood out to me, and it's when she admits that she's depressed.
Mm.
How did that make you feel when you heard her say that? Like, what did this moment mean for you?
It was an awful moment on one hand, because it is very frustrating to feel that a person you care so much about is suffering and you can't practically do nothing about it, save, I mean, and that I knew, um, being there for her by listening and by being just being there and listening to her. And she had said that a number of times to me, and I felt it also that way, that it was very important to keep that lifeline, and that connection. But it was also very frustrating. I mean, on one hand, I was happy that we were talking at that moment when she said that. Initially, because I asked her, actually, I said, I feel you're not there. And then she admitted that she felt depressed. And but at the same time, yeah, it felt really bad. And then I tried to make her happy. I mean, all that, followed in that conversation and in the days before and after. Basically, part of what I was aiming at was to, of course, have her talk about the daily life, her feelings and her way of seeing things under the bombings. How do you last? How do you resist? How do you keep living? How do you keep hope? Um, and the rest of it was also to keep her um, up, spirits up, cheer her up, and give her a glimpse of a normal life that many times I do explain to the audiences, or this question comes up. um, how did you feel by putting your normality against her, the hardship she was getting through and living through, and why the cat and why the normal life and why the travels and all that comes up quite regularly, and and legitimately so. But I mean, my answer is that I think, and I still believe, that it was very important for her to have a glimpse of something beyond that war and that genocide and the killings and all, you know um, just something normal.
Yeah.
And she said it herself, also. So yes, it felt good and bad.
It's almost like she was a important window for you, but you were also just as important of a window for her.
I hope
Like
so. I
it
think I was, yes. Mm.
we just have one more question. It's about the title of the film. The title is so memorable, and it's a line that she says in the film in reference to going outside amidst the constant bombing, but still continuing to document the life around her in spite of the danger. But can you share in your own words what you think she meant by it and why you chose that line as the film title?
Well, I was editing the film parallelly, the footage, as I was shooting. So one part of each day was concentrated on being ready for her to connect and me to shoot, to be online and watching my phone for her, waiting for her message to come in. The rest of the day, once that had happened, was to edit. Um, and so during the editing process, I fell upon that phrase, which was in her audio message, an audio message that she'd sent to me. I discovered that one more time, and I was really struck by that. And it was a few months later, I'd kind of, forgotten about that. And when I listened to that again, it felt so strong. And I asked her in the next um, day, and it is in that conversation when we talk about the depression also. It's in the same, um, not the same moment, but the same day. And she was kind of, yes, reflecting on that. And I feel, I owe, even now I feel that it is such an amazing way of phrasing what she was doing. I mean, her feelings and the act of, walking, like putting your soul on your, it's like you see it. It's the image is so complete. It is metaphoric, of course, but it is also a very strong image in a way, or a strong metaphor. And so it was obvious for me that this was the title, at that moment when I rediscovered it. And yes, and it remained. It remained. Um,
It's
yes, and I wanted to say something regarding one of your previous questions, because you asked me how is it and how the audience reacts and all. I still keep getting words from people most of the time, whom I do not know. strangers who find my contact, who write to me on social media, and all who've watched the film or who post or who've seen the book, because there is the book that was published in French and now in Greek and soon in English and in Japanese. Um, and Either they see the book, her photography in the book, or they've seen the film and they write to me, and there's always a very strong reaction. Some people, there was a song made, there were a couple of paintings, portraits made of her by people. There's a theater play and that is going to use part of her words, our words, or her words rather, quotes to mix it up with a in a Shakespeare play.
Oh,
And so there are reactions like, but many things have been happening. I mean, as kind of, it's like, I don't know, as though there were seeds planted, and things are growing, and the least is the messages, and then photography. A gentleman took her photo to Vatican because she had said that in the film that she wanted to go to Vatican, travel to Rome to go to what, and so he asked me for a photo. I sent it to him. He printed that and took it to Vatican. Other people, there was another person who, what was it? They try to fulfill her wishes. It's quite touching, all the testimonies and the feedback that I get by the audience that who watches the film, even when I'm not there. They find me and they give it to me. It's very rewarding, let's say.
that's beautiful. I mean, what a testament to the film and also to her as a person and how much she's impacted people,
Yes,
so she lives on.
yeah,
That's beautiful. Well,
she
thank you
does.
so much for your time
Thank you.
today. Really appreciate it. And congratulations on all the recognition for your film, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
Thank you so much.